Team Sorcerers here, and welcome back to What If Wednesday, and it's another Robot Wars What If. And this one is about S.M.I.D.S.Y, aka Sorry Mate, I Didn't See You. S.M.I.D.S.Y is an impressive, well-known robot which sadly didn't have a lot of success in Robot Wars. Best it did was make 3 heat finals. That was it. Which brings me to the topic. Series 5, when it's up against Chaos 2. Yeah, you know what happened when both robots got immobilised. S.M.I.D.S.Y was on the sidewall, Chaos 2 flipped itself and was struggling to get back up. So a rematch was called. Now, there is some debate about whether or not this would should have happened. I've read a comment or two where people have said S.M.I.D.S.Y was immobilised first. Well, I guess technically it was, although maybe, just maybe, there's a small chance it could have got off the wall, depending on the angle. But this brings me to the what if. What if S.M.I.D.S.Y was able to get itself off the wall in time while Chaos 2 was left for dead? I mean, it's quite simple really. If Chaos 2 can't get back up, then it's out. Its 2-year run as British champion comes to an end right there and then. So Chaos 2 is eliminated and S.M.I.D.S.Y is through to the series semi-finals instead. So how much would have changed? Let's see. So semi-finals come up. S.M.I.D.S.Y is up against Wild Thing, which would be quite a fight. I mean, they'd be pushing each other around, definitely. I don't know if S.M.I.D.S.Y would have been able to use the jaws to tip Wild Thing over, but I think Wild Thing would be able to go on the attack a lot more, be more manoeuvrable. I don't know if the disc would be able to damage S.M.I.D.S.Y. I mean, there is a chance S.M.I.D.S.Y could damage Wild Thing, but Wild Thing's too quick, manoeuvrable and nippy, so I really don't think S.M.I.D.S.Y would have a chance to use its rear disc. So it just becomes a bit of a shoving match. Although, I guess it might be easier for S.M.I.D.S.Y to push Wild Thing than it is for Wild Thing to push S.M.I.D.S.Y. So yeah, it's a really slippery, grindy match. Then again, I guess S.M.I.D.S.Y might be able to tip Wild Thing over. But yeah, it'd be close, but I feel like S.M.I.D.S.Y might just beat Wild Thing, but just. This is my best guess anyway. So the other fights play out the same way, Losers Melee plays out the same way, and now S.M.I.D.S.Y is up against Bigger Brother, and now starts to struggle a bit. S.M.I.D.S.Y might not be able to push Bigger Brother that easily, and Bigger Brother just flips S.M.I.D.S.Y over time and time again. And it would be able to flip it up against the sidewall, I think, and flip S.M.I.D.S.Y straight out. Yeah, Bigger Brother would have a somewhat easier time of it than Chaos 2, definitely. Yeah, again, that's my best guess. So, yeah, S.M.I.D.S.Y does make it to the semi-finals, takes out 2 of the top 10 seeds, but doesn't quite manage to beat Bigger Brother here. And then the rest of the series plays out the same way, but now we have a different seeding lineup, because S.M.I.D.S.Y would be seeded in Series 6, and Tornado wouldn't be. So then I'd have to play an awkward game of musical chairs here. But the top 4 seeds would still be the same: Razor, Bigger Brother, Firestorm 4, Hypnodisc. But now, of course, we have Dominator 2 as the 5th seed. S.M.I.D.S.Y would be 6th. And S3 would still be 7th, Panic Attack would still be 8th, Wild Thing would still be 9th, Spawn Again would still be 10th. But now Chaos 2 is 11th and Stinger is 12th. So now we'd have to figure out where the robots in Tornado's heat go. So I think Tornado and the robots in its fight would go in S.M.I.D.S.Y's heat. Yeah, and the same robots that S.M.I.D.S.Y's up against. And then Anarchy 4, Judge Shred 2.5, and Revolution 2 would then be in Dominator 2's heat. I think that's the simplest way to do it. Yeah, don't worry, I will talk you through this, it's fine. So, yeah, first 2 heats of the 6-4, nothing changes. Razor and Firestorm 4 go through. Now we've got Dominator 2, Dominator 2's heat instead. So yeah, in round 1 we still got Dominator 2, Something, Hydra and Accident 2. Dominator 2 and Hydra go through. Then of course Anarchy, Judge Shred 2.5, 4 and Revolution 2 are in the same heat as well. So Anarchy and 4 go through. So yeah, going into round 2, Dominator 2 and 4 face off against each other. And 4 can't really do much to Dominator 2, whereas Dominator 2 can easily get its axe in on various points on 4 and just get the win on a judge's decision. Meanwhile, Anarchy then has to face Hydra. I think Anarchy would struggle against Hydra. I mean, Hydra would try and flip Anarchy over, but struggle doing so. But would be able to hit with the hammer, whereas Anarchy just doesn't really get a chance to hit Hydra with the axe or flip it over. So, that being the case, Hydra wins on a judge's decision, and then the heat final between Dominator 2 and Hydra plays out the same way. Dominator 2 goes through. Then we come to S3's heat, that doesn't change. Then Wild Thing's heat, that doesn't change. And then, yeah, Chaos 2's heat is heat F instead of heat C, and Dan Sonkia just wins that. Um, so yeah, Stinger's heat is next, and that is heat G instead of heat F. 13 black wins that. Then H, Spawn Again's heat, that doesn't change. I, Panic Attack's heat, that doesn't change. And now we come to S.M.I.D.S.Y's heat. Yeah, well, I don't think the order really matters here. So S.M.I.D.S.Y and Common Getter-X beat Warhog and St. Aggro in the first fight. Then in the second fight, Tornado and Inshreddable beat Edgehog and Terrible. So yeah, S.M.I.D.S.Y then goes up against Inshreddable and beats it with ease, because Inshreddable is still having problems after its first fight. Meanwhile, this is actually a rematch between Common Getter-X and Tornado, since they fought in a challenge belt fight, and it just basically goes the same way, with Tornado beating the stuffing out of Common Getter-X. And then the heat final, it's a battle of invertible push bots, but sadly S.M.I.D.S.Y is no match for Tornado. Tornado just shoves S.M.I.D.S.Y around way too easily, and Tornado just goes through. And yeah, that's that. And then of course Hypnodisc's heat and Bigger Brother's heat go the same way, nothing changes there. So the first semi-final, I guess Razor and Wild Thing would still fight each other. I was thinking about having Firestorm and Dominator 2 face off, and so that S3 and Danton Kier could still fight and really make it match the original timeline, but I'm not so sure now, considering that a Razor, Firestorm and Dominator 2 would be the highest ranking robots here. I guess we could try and approach this two ways. So Razor still beats Wild Thing, S3 still beats Danton Kier, and Firestorm 4 would definitely beat Dominator 2 here, because the armour, Firestorm 4's armour is thicker than on Firestorm 2. So yeah, that's that. So yeah, Dominator 2 is in that loser's melee instead of 13 black, of course. Or Wild Thing would get eliminated, would be the first to fall here. And I don't think Dominator 2 would be able to beat Danton Kier. It just gets flipped all over the place. And Dominator 2 isn't likely to damage Danton Kier very easily. So yeah, it's an easy win for Danton Kier. Then everything plays out the same way as the original timeline. Firestorm beats S3, and Razor beats Danton Kier. Now let's go with the other order. So Firestorm would face Danton Kier instead, while S3 and Dominator 2 fight each other. I feel like Firestorm would beat Danton Kier. It would sort of play out the same way as their All-Stars fight, resulting in Danton Kier breaking down. And as for a Dominator 2 versus S3 matchup, I don't really see Dominator 2 winning this, to be honest. It might be hard to get an axe blow in, plus S3's disc could send Dominator 2 flying. It's just able to hit the Dom more easily, so S3 wins. Then, yeah, again we have the same losers melee and same top 4 in that, so either way, Razor and Firestorm 4 are going through. Meanwhile, in the other semi-final, I think it would they would try and make it follow the original timeline as well. Obviously 13 Black is there instead of Dominator 2, so chances are 13 Black would be pitted against Bigger Brother. Yeah, that's the more likely scenario, plus it makes this easier to figure out. So yeah, Tornado beats Hypnodisc. Bigger Brother, I think, would beat 13 Black. It would be able to... yeah, it would be more of the same as if 13 Black was fighting Firestorm 4 and Danton Kier. So yeah, that happens, while Terahertz beats Spawn again. So yeah, poor old Spawn again is up against 2 spinners here, Hypnodisc and 13 Black. Unfortunately, I don't see Hypnodisc coming out alive, even though I really wanted it to go through. I mean, chances are Hypnodisc will get some hits in, but some hits from 13 Black would cause it to break down, seeing as its Hypnodisc is still suffering from its fight with Tornado. Meanwhile, Spawn again is still having some interference problems. I mean, 13 Black would get some hits in on Spawn again as well. But it does make me wonder if Spawn again would still manage to get a flip in. So, it's tricky to anticipate this one. I mean, I guess Spawn again didn't struggle that much at first, but did seem to right at the end. It's so difficult to predict. Yeah, I guess Spawn again probably would get a lucky hit and flip 13 Black over eventually. I don't know, maybe I could approach this 2 ways, even though I'd rather go with my best guess, but sometimes it's just really hard to tell. Yeah, I really need to go with the more likely scenario. And I feel like the more likely scenario is 13 Black just stays out the way of the flipper. And Spawn again gets eliminated and 13 Black gets straight back in. So yeah, we're now left with 2 seeds and 2 unseeded robots. And I feel like Bigger Brother would still go up against Terahertz, and 13 Black would face Tornado. So yeah, Terahertz still beats Bigger Brother in the same way as the original timeline, whereas Tornado would shove... oh no, wait, I just remembered, Tornado's also unseeded here, so... ooh, this could be tricky then. It's hard to say who'd face whom, because 13 Black can't fight Bigger Brother again. Actually, then again, maybe that would be the lineup, considering Tornadoes had more success than Terahertz and would have been seeded higher. I don't know. Oh wow, this is harder to anticipate than I thought. So I guess this could go multiple ways from here on out, but let's just assume the first lineup is the case. Tornado shoves around 13 Black and just goes through. So we have the exact same grand final lineup. If Spawn again goes through, then it can't fight Terahertz again. So Spawn again would probably fight Tornado here, because Tornado and Terahertz are the unseeded robots here, whereas Bigger Brother and Spawn again are the seeds. But yeah, I guess it would be the same result. Because I don't see Spawn again beating Tornado, especially with the problems Spawn again has had throughout the series. Then again, it depends whether or not the issues were resolved, if it survives the losers melee. But either way, the grand final is exactly the same. Razor, Firestorm, Tornado and Terahertz, and we know how that goes, with Tornado winning the UK title. So going into Series 7, I guess the seeding lineup would be similar, considering we've had the exact same semi-finalists, only I guess the order would be different for Spawn again and 13 Black. So yeah, if 13 Black wins the losers melee, then I guess 13 Black would be seeded 5th, Danton Kier 6th, and Spawn again 7th. And then everyone else just stays the same, only their heats would be in a different order, but that doesn't matter, because, well, the semi-finalists were randomised, so yeah, it would play out the exact same way, and Typhoon 2 would still become the champion. So yeah, I mean, that's the more likely scenario that would happen if S.M.I.D.S.Y beat Chaos 2. So besides a change in the seeds, nothing changes really. But let's go back to that lineup in semi-final 2 of Series 6, assuming 13 Black did win. So yeah, again, 13 Black can't fight Bigger Brother because it already did in round 1. So let's see what would happen if Bigger Brother fought Tornado and Terahertz fought 13 Black. Regarding Bigger Brother and Tornado, it would play out the exact same way as their All-Stars fight, with Tornado being flipped over and then pushed into the pit. So Bigger Brother goes through to the grand final instead. Whereas in a fight between 13 Black and Terahertz, I'm pretty sure 13 Black's more likely to win. Terahertz would struggle to hit 13 Black with the axe, but even if it did, it wouldn't really do much, and it would just suffer the same fate it did in the fight with Fluffy. So, that being the case, 13 Black goes through, and we have a more interesting grand final lineup. If any, well, kind of, it's pretty much the same as last time, only it's hit 13 Black there instead of Hypnodisc. So what would then happen is Razor would fight 13 Black and beat it, and Firestorm would fight Bigger Brother, and Firestorm would win. So 13 Black and Bigger Brother would meet again, Bigger Brother would win and finish third. And then, unfortunately, Razor would beat Firestorm. It would basically be the same scenario as the All-Stars final, which makes me wonder how the All-Stars tournament would play out in that case. Who knows? Now that would definitely change a lot for the 7th Wars. Without that controversial fight between Razor and Tornado, there's no reason for Razor not to enter. So yeah, it becomes the second robot to defend the UK title, and basically would be in Series 7. So yeah, Ming Dynasty wouldn't be seeded, so either Ming Dynasty is unseeded and replaces Zorro, or Ming Dynasty just doesn't enter. So yeah, the seeds would be 1 Razor, Firestorm 5 would still be seeded 2, and 3 Bigger Brother, 4 13 Black, let's see, we've got Danton Kier, Tornado, Terahertz. So Tornado would be 5th, 6 Terahertz, 7 Danton Kier, wait, is there anyone I'm missing? Just trying to think. Oh no, there isn't. Wait, what did I say? 4 13 Black, 5 Tornado, 6 Terahertz, 7 Danton Kier, 8 Spawn again, 9 Panic Attack, 10 Pussycat, 11 Behemoth, 12 Exterminator, 13 Bulldog Breed, 14 S.M.I.D.S.Y, 15 Verminal 2, 16 Storm 2. So yeah, again, Razor would take Ming's place and fight in that heat instead. And I've already sort of gone over this sort of scenario already, but yeah, Razor would beat anyone out of Seros, Scraptosaur, Metalis, Megahertz LT, Revolution 3, I think I said S.M.I.D.S.Y already, St.Agro, and the Scrapper. So, yeah, easy win there. Then bigger brother's heat would be Heat B, so Typhoon 2 wins. Then Heat C, Tornado's Heat, Tornado. Okay, you know what, just to save some time, like, basically everyone still wins their respective heats, only Razor is in the semi-finals instead of St.Agro. So with that being the case, we have the same pairings, only Razor faces Exterminator, and yeah, Exterminator gets exterminated. Oh yeah, and as you may have guessed, the semi-final lineups would still be the same as well. We'd have basically the same fights, as you may have guessed. So yeah, Tornado beats Raging Nightmare and Gravity, and I think Razor would beat Bulldog Breed. So yeah, that's that. And then the other semi-final plays out the same way as in the original timeline. So basically, Razor is in the grand final with Tornado, Storm 2 and Typhoon 2 instead of Exterminator. And I think how it would then be done is, well, to follow the path as much as possible, Tornado and Storm 2 would still fight each other, and Typhoon 2 would face a Razor, and unfortunately this is where Razor's run ends. I mean, as amazing as Razor is, I don't think it could beat Typhoon 2. I think Razor would get trashed. I mean, the sides would come off, the wheels would come off, it would just be a sorry sight, and Razor is finally dethroned. And then of course the grand final plays out the exact same way as in the actual timeline. Now the playoff, this would involve Razor going up against Tornado, and it depends how fit to fight Razor would be. I mean, if it's not just not fit at all, then it forfeits, automatically finishes 4th, and Tornado still finishes 3rd. However, Razor would be ready to fight. Now, would the anti-pit device be legal here? Because even if their fight in Series 6 didn't happen, it still happened in the European Championship. Yeah, I feel like that would have played out more the way the Series 6 fight would have done, only it would have been a more clear decision, because Razor seemed to have dodgy motors which kept smoking here in Extreme 2. Not that that really stopped it in the All-Stars fight, but yeah, Tornado would have definitely won that European Championship fight fair and square. Then it would beg the question whether or not it would be legal for the 7th Wars, considering it didn't come up in Series 7, but just the All-Stars, I guess it still wouldn't have been allowed, because I've got, which decides this more easily, because without that anti-pit device, the big frame, Tornado has no chance against Razor. I mean, it just gets crushed really easily, and yeah, it just becomes more of the same as how their first ever 2 fights went. So in that case, Razor would finish 3rd and Tornado 4th. But if by some miracle the frame was legal, it would make things more interesting. I guess it would actually play out kind of more the same way as the European Championship fight in the real timeline, only Razor has better motors that don't start smoking. So I guess Razor would still win on a judge's decision. So yeah, I guess it really does depend on who fights whom in that second semi-final in the 6-4s. So either literally nothing changes at all, or Razor wins Series 6 instead of Tornado. Either way, for the most part, if S.M.I.D.S.Y beat Chaos 2, then like nothing really changes, besides a few seats being swapped around, and yeah, that's going to do it for this episode. But what do you guys think? Anyway, that's all I got. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you later. Bye.